Welcome to Algebra 1, Chapter 2.2. If you've made it this far, pat yourself on the back. You are 10 to 15% of the way through. So let's get started with solving simple equations with variables. For x plus 7 equals 10. Here, it's a very simple, I would hope that you would think this is very simple and that just by looking at this, you should already be able to know, hey, x is 3, and that is easy, but that is not normally how we're going to solve these problems, because if the numbers are much bigger, we're not going to be able to do that in our head. So let's go back and discuss what an equation really is. Anything with an equal sign in it, that's an equation. And here we know that x plus 7 is the same as 10. So the thing that you'll really have to grasp is I can do an operation to both sides. I can do something. Well, I'll show you exactly what I mean in just a little bit. But there are things that can be done to basically get x by itself, because ultimately that's what I want. I want to be able to say, hey, x equals, and then just have the number that it equals there. Instead, I'm going to look at this using something that's a little bit clever. If I were to take this and minus a 7 from this, 7 minus 7 is going to leave me with a 0 here and x by itself. Now, on the other side of the equation, I also minused a 7. So the minus the 7 is the key to this problem. Here I have an x, and I want the x all by itself. Now it's with a 7. So if I minus a 7 from this side, I will get my x by itself. But whatever I do over here, I have to do over here. So I also have to minus a 7 here. And visually, that's exactly what I've done. My 7's cancel out to 0. And that leaves me with x equaling 10 minus 7, which is 3. And as we had guessed before, x equals 3. With our next problem, we have x minus 2 equals negative 4. The key here would be that since I have a minus 2, I would need to add 2 to this side to get my x alone. So I'm going to do the same to both sides. Now, notice how my right side is written. I haven't changed my negative 4. And I put my 2 on the right side of it, kind of for convenience. Later on, you'll see it may be more convenient for you to put it on the other side. Anyhow, the 2's cancel to a 0. Negative 4 plus 2 gives me a negative 2. So x equals negative 2. For 3 plus x equals negative 11, I would hope you see right away I need to minus 3 from both sides. So in the end, x equals negative 14. Here we're dealing with decimal problems, but don't let the decimals throw you off. We have a negative 8.6 that I need to get rid of, so I just need to add that. Again, I added 8.6 to both sides. And when I do my math correctly, r equals 0.5. Here we have the fraction 1/3 plus f equals 3/4. So I'm going to minus the 1/3 from the left side. So I have to minus a 1/3 from the right side. I'm left with f by itself on the left side. Now, in order to get my common denominators, I multiply by a phantom 1 and transform them into what I need. If this step does not make sense to you, you need to go back and look at getting common denominators and adding and subtracting fractions. Doing my arithmetic, I get 9/12 minus 4/12, and in the end, I'll get f equals 5/12. For my next problem, notice I have a 9x plus a 5.5, and that equals a 10x. Now, here there are, again, several ways one could approach this. From the very get-go, I'm going to explain to you how I would approach this problem, and I'll tell you why through the whole process. And I highly recommend you pay close attention, because everything I say and what I do here is going to be critical in how in whether or not you make the right decision on how you choose to approach future difficult problems. Because I know that 10x is here and 9x is here, the first thing in my head is that I need to get x's on one side. Now, here's where we're first going to see this trick where I'm not just minusing a number, I'm minusing a number with x in it. If I were to minus 10x from this side and minus 10x from this side, I would get a 0 on this side and I would get stuff over here, but I'm not going to do it that way, because when I'm going to minus 9x from this side and this side, because it's going to turn out to be easier as far as my sign goes. You'll see what I mean. All right, now what I've done here, I highly recommend you really develop this technique and what I've just done. Instead of taking the time to write down minus 9x here and minus 9x here, all I've done is I have taken this 9x and I have taken it to the other side of the equation and I changed the sign. Notice over here I have 5.5 equals 10x minus 9x. So I did minus 9x from both sides, and this is the result. The way I think of it is take something to the other side, and you're going to hear me say that over and over and over. Let's move on. Now the 10x minus 9x leaves me with just x. So here I have my answer, x equals 5.5. But on a test, I wouldn't leave that like my answer. Here I'm showing clearly that I know that x is 5.5. Here, basically the same kind of problem. I have a minus here, so we'll deal with that. But I'm going to take my 18 to the other side of the equation. And I better clarify, it's 18x I am taking to the other side of the equation. That leaves me with x. Again, I took the 18 to the other side because the 19 was bigger. If 18 was here and 19 was here, I would have taken the 18 and brought it to this side of the equation. And it turns out x equals negative 9. Okay, here is my next problem. I have 2y plus 10x equals 5y minus 4y. Now, I could start moving things side to side, other side, this and that, but the first thing I'm going to observe is this side over here. As it turns out, 5y minus 4y is just y, so I'm going to do that first before I start anything. All right, now here I've done something really slick. What I've done is I've taken this y to this side of the equation and changed the sign, and at the same time I've taken this 10 and put it on the other side of the equation and change the sign. That was a really fast move, and you guys, when you really need to be able to learn how to do these moves quick. Hopefully you know 2y minus y is just y, so y equals negative 10. Here's my next problem. Now here, upon observation, the best thing, why don't you think for a second, what do you think is the best thing we should do in our first step? Hopefully you know that you should bring your 2 over to this side, and you should bring your 6 over to this side and change the signs of both. You should get 3x minus 2x equals 5 plus 6. And then you should just get x on this side and 11 on this side. All right, a lot going on in this equation, but no worries. We just need to, keep an eye on everything that's going on here. I see some things with x's and some things without. So I have a 13x, a 2x, a 12x, and a 2x. Now here I'm going to show you a trick that also we're going to use often. If I have a 2x on both sides, guess what? I can minus 2x from both sides. So whenever you see an equation that has the exact same thing on both sides of the equation, guess what? You can just cancel those out. And in fact, it's like they were never there. So look what I'm left with here. I have a 13x minus 9 minus 5, which equals a 12x minus 1. Now here, I'm going to just do some head work. I have 12x's here and I have 13 here. If I minus 12x from here and minus 12x from here, I already know I'm going to be left with 1x. Now, for the other side of the equation, I can look and say, well, I know I have a negative 1 here. Between this negative 9 and this negative 5, that's going to give me a negative 14. So if I have a negative 14 on this side of the equation with my x, I can go ahead and flip it over to the other side of the equation, and that's going to give me a positive 14. And as I tell my students, don't skip steps. So here I've written it out. 13x minus 12 equals negative 1 plus 9 plus 5. So here I'm going to get x, and over here it looks like I'm going to get 13. All right, class, thanks again for coming. If you reached this far, feel proud of yourself. You've come a long way, and you have a long way to go. See you next time.